All right, good afternoon, college football fans. It is week 2. This is our 3rd episode of TGFF Game Day. We are so thankful that it is football again. So welcome aboard to Jay Jacobs and our guys from the SoCon John. They are live from Furman today. So thank you guys so much for joining. We're excited for the show again. We got a great show for you guys this week. We're going to be recapping week 1. And we got a new slate of games, 11 games that we're going to be picking this week. So excited to give you guys some really good insight into all the conference in college football this week. Welcome aboard, guys.
First of all, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're here live at Furman University. We want to thank, of course, SID Hunter Reed and also Athletic Director Jason Donnelly for letting us be here. Great weekend fixing to be. They're going to be FU Saturday night. It's the captains and the team wanted this to be a night game, so it's going to be great to be here. And, John, what can you say? Can't get no better than being here at Furman.
No, it's third straight year that they've started under the lights here at Paladins Stadium. I think they're dubbing it like the trilogy FU After Dark. And so looking forward to it. A lot we didn't learn about Furman from the first week because they played a buzzsaw in Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
A team that probably will end up in that 12-team playoff. But I think you'll learn a lot about a young team on this field here Saturday night. And kickoff is actually at 6 p.m. here at Paladin Stadium, and they'll face off against the Charleston Southern team that is coming off the other end of the spectrum, which is a 1-point loss at home in the Low Country Boyle game. And I wanted to actually know if you got like a Low Country Boyle if you win that.
That seems kind of weird.
So that would be like a double.
Hey, let's get the Low Country Boyle trophy going. Let's do that.
Exactly, a big bowl of shrimp.
Yeah, you get the corn, the shrimp, the old
crawdads.
Get it all.
So they was on I think they lost. They took a 21-3 lead in that game, and they lost 22-21. The Citadel scores late off a turnover. They were covered down at the 10-yard line. And so that's going to be an interesting game because you have an opponent that played one of your conference rivals, and they're coming in here and they're hungry on the other end of the spectrum, having a 1-point heartbreaking loss, whereas Furman's looking to put the Ole Miss game behind them for different reasons. And but a really interesting weekend around the league. We saw Mercer open up last Thursday night with a 63-10 win over Presbyterian, a non-scholarship Pioneer League football team. If you'll remember last year, PC beat Wofford, and that was the first Pioneer League team to ever beat a Southern Conference team. And they had visions of doing that again, but obviously that didn't materialize like they wanted it to. But Mercer looked very strong with a new quarterback leading the way. This year, DJ Smith, who had 331 passing yards and a couple touchdowns, also had a rushing touchdown, and he was the player of the week for the Southern Conference. And also, Braden Smith, the punt returner, was the national special teams player of the week. I think he had something like 248 all-purpose yards, including a 75-yard punt return for a score. And I think he had a 62-yard touchdown reception. So he had a big night. And we didn't really know what to expect out of Mercer's offense with a new coach and Mike Jacobs. But it looks like they're going to be pretty explosive. But we also have to consider the competition was Presbyterian. So keep that in perspective.
So what's your thoughts going into this week? What's your 3 big games of this week?
You know, I'm looking to see how it's kind of for the first game, I want to see how Furman bounces back. Also, Chattanooga took one on the shin at Tennessee. They play Georgia State this week. That'll be an interesting matchup just because Georgia State comes in off a loss. They played Georgia Tech tough for a while, but they'll be hungry for a win as well. And so they've got a new head coach at Georgia State. And, you know, I think Chattanooga, they look good at times. I know the 69-3 scoreline wouldn't seem to indicate that, but, you know, they've got a young running back in Reggie Davis who's, you know, actually scored the first touchdown for them last year in the playoff game here. And he's trying to, you know, follow in some footsteps of guys like Alim Ford, who is one of the best Chattanooga running backs in history. And so that's going to be some pretty big shoes to fill. But they have a really explosive offense led by Chase Artopius, the transfer from UCLA. We saw what he could do last year, and then their wide receiving room is highlighted by Sam Phillips and Javen Watley. I look for them to, take some shots early in that game, and it's still an FBS foe, but it's more to their playing level, whereas Tennessee's kind of in a different galaxy, and really all the SEC is right now.
Yeah.
With the NFL
and Western and NC State had a pretty good game up until about the third quarter.
Yeah, I was impressed with Western Carolina last week. I think they were probably the most impressive team just because they played a really good NC State team, a team expected to challenge for an ACC title. And they were standing toe-to-toe with them for 2.5 quarters until they kind of wore down. And you saw NC State's kind of depth play a factor in that game. And just their overall athleticism, I think, took its toll and wore down Western Carolina. But for a while there, I was really impressed with Western Carolina's defensive backs who were playing press coverage on NC State's receivers, which that was almost daring them to throw deep, which is pretty impressive. And then, obviously, you flipped to Saturday and you had Samford and West Georgia. West Georgia played in their first FCS game ever. That'll be interesting to see. I know Samford's playing Florida this week, but they have to kind of take some positives forward this week. They've got to kind of take those positives there to the swamp, or it's going to be similar to
Napier's funeral, basically what a lot of people think.
And so, and a few years ago, they actually went in there and scored like 40 points on Florida, and it was some crazy score, like 70 to 45 or something.
Yeah.
And so that actually was Dan Mullen's funeral.
So it seems like Samford might be the help of a lot of people's funerals. Okay. Well, this week, what's your top 3 games? Who do you think is going to win the top 3 games in the SoCon?
I think Furman bounces back this week with I think Charleston Southern's a very good football team. I think they'll come in here and be competitive just like it was 2 years ago down there. I think I look for, I don't think Chattanooga beats Georgia State, but I think they look a lot more respectable than what happened in Tennessee. And granted, I think you're going to be able to put those games in perspective more as the season goes along because those are really good football teams. It's not really an indictment on the talent at Chattanooga or Furman.
Yeah.
It's just those teams are really good.
Yeah.
They're in a different galaxy now. So, and another game that's kind of intriguing to me is Western Carolina and Campbell. They haven't played since 1937, which is kind of surprising for 2 teams in the same state. But, Campbell is in a similar situation, second-year head coach. Western Carolina is really good offensively. Campbell was sort of known for their defense last year. They have a really good linebacker named Tillman. So I'm looking forward to seeing that game. That'll actually be the next SoCon game of the week, starting at 1:00 p.m.
All right. Well, Justin, we've got us a good look at the SoCon, and now we want to thank SoCon John for being here. Of course, he's brought to you by Arden Grill in Central South Carolina. Let's go to them and Uncle Bobby telling you about some of their food.
Bobby, you love Arden's Burger and Grill because you know what? I got me a sampler platter. That's right. She made me a sampler platter of everything Uncle Bobby loves. Look at there. We got the s'mores French toast. Ooh, we got some wings. And we got the powdered burger. And you know what, Uncle Bobby? He loves you some wings, I'm telling you right now. You will not miss. I'll tell you, the double dip wings will make you double dip crazy. I'm telling you right now, it's the best thing you ever put in your mouth. Oh yeah, and French toast. Hey, they serve breakfast all day long. Uncle Bobby loves them for French toast. And folks, the Paladin burger. Ooh, blueberry barbecue sauce, smoked Gouda cheese. Yum yum. Make sure you get down here to Arden's Burger and Grill Central. Uncle Bobby, I commend it, recommend it, everything that is amended, I do it here at Arden's Burger and Grill in Central South Carolina. And don't forget, they're going to open a place called Beef and Ribbies. That's right, it's going to be so good it sticks to your ribbies and makes you do this all day long. I'm telling you right now, come to Arden's Burger and Grill.
Welcome back, guys, to the show. Once again, it is a beautiful weekend, but it's also one of those things where Uncle Bobby just seems to love his Arden's Bar and Grill for some reason. I really don't understand that, but maybe.
Yeah, he loves Arden's Burger Grill for sure.
Well, we also know who loves their conference as well, and John Bair is going to be bringing us the Sunbelt news of the week this week. So we will welcome into the show our friend of the program, John Bair. Let's get started with the Sunbelt. John, let's go.
Happy Saturday, football fans. Welcome to another episode of the Sunbelt Conference, coming to you live from Coastal Carolina University. I just wanted to jump on here real quick and to give you a little update on Coastal's football this coming week. Of course, their opponent, after they beat Jacksonville State last Saturday down in Jacksonville, Alabama, they'll be playing William and Mary for their first home game this coming week, and very excited about that. William and Mary is going to come in here as a good opponent, another good test. They're ranked number 14 in the FBS, and they're looking to upset Coastal on Saturday. Continue a 3-year period of starting off their season with 2 straight wins. So I think they're going to be a viable opponent. They're going to be tough to play. They match up very well, the two teams together. They've never played each other, oddly enough, but this is the first time. But they match up very, very well. And this team is not to be taken lightly. They have upset several FBS teams in the last few years, going back to 2022. They upset Charlotte 41-24. So I know they're going to be a viable team for Coastal this coming weekend. Coastal comes out this week healthy, according to Coach Tim Beck, and head coach says that we're looking good and looking forward to this game. His guys are fired up and ready to play, and we're looking forward to that being our first home game at Brooks Stadium this year. My 2 teams that I chose for this week to talk about, I wanted to stay, again, as much as I could in the Sunbelt Conference, Eastern Conference standings first before I moved to the Western standings. And this week I picked Appalachian State against Clemson, and we know that that's going to be a tough game regardless. Appalachian State's going to come in playing with a nothing to lose attitude, just like they have before when they've actually beaten several of the FBS schools that they've played in the past. Coming to mind, the biggest one I remember was on TV when they beat Michigan at Michigan in a big house. And wow, what a big win that was for them. And Sean Clark, their coach there, he's a really good coach. They're coming off last week a win over East Tennessee State University. East Tennessee State lost to them 38-10. Their quarterback, Joey Aguilar, for Appalachian State, he threw for 326 yards last week, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. They are upset-minded, like I said, and they believe that they can beat Clemson. I personally believe Clemson's going to probably beat them down by about the end of the third quarter, starting part of the fourth quarter, and then they'll go on and win. And my pick for this week's 35-17 Clemson over Appalachian State. They're a 17-point favor, and listen, they're coming off of a loss last week to Georgia, 34-3, and they're not happy about that. Dabo put the blame on himself for the loss, but they did manage to stay ranked in the top 25. And Clemson will wear them down, like I said. They're very talented, and both on offense and defense. And I think that they'll come bouncing back after this loss that they had to Georgia. And Appalachian State's going to continue on their way. I'm not sure whether or not they're going to be able to upset Clemson at Death Valley. That's a hard place to win. And to upset anybody, the same as it is if you're playing at Boone and playing there where App State's located at. It's very, very tough to win up there. Fortunately for Coastal, we beat them up there last year, and we're still excited about that win. Anytime we can beat App State, we're very, very happy. Very happy customers. My second team that I chose this week to to look into that's in the Eastern Conference as well is Marshall. And Marshall finished dead last in the conference last year. They look to be much improved this year overall. They were last again in the conference last year and last season, and they're picked to finish 5th overall in the preseason picks this year in the Sunbelt. So that certainly would be an improvement for them. I think that their coach up there, he's a little bit on the hot seat, and he has been since last year's team just kind of self-destructed after about, a 4 or 5 game winning streak to start off the season, and then they just fell flat on their face. So Marshall is going to have to play tough, and Coach Huff's going to have his players ready to play up there against Virginia Tech. Playing at Blacksburg, that's not an easy place to win either. And Virginia Tech, they lost last week. They were upset by Vanderbilt. It was one of those go back and forth the entire game, and they ended up scoring last and ended up winning the game, Vanderbilt did, and upset them. But again, they have tons of returning players and a lot of talent from last year's team. Virginia Tech came on towards the latter part of the season. They got really strong. So I look forward for them to be, again, one of those kind of teams that's going to be able to muscle Marshall through about the end of the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, and then they'll finish what they needed to finish concerning Marshall in that game. Last year in Huntington, there was a 24-17 win, and Marshall upset them last year, so they've got that in their veins right now. Virginia Tech leads a series 11-3, so they've played a lot of times. I believe it was about 15 times I had read they had played over the years, so they've been formidable with one another and look impressive. But I'm gonna be a little bit out here on the edge, and I'm gonna pick a little closer score than what I think we're gonna have. I'm looking at a 35-29 win for Virginia Tech. Again, that for this week is a winner for Virginia Tech. And then in the other game is going to be a win for Clemson. Clemson, I picked it 35-17. And the Chanticleers, I didn't give you that score yet, but I believe we're going to score big again this week, and I look forward to it being a wonderful game. And that score, again, is going to be a 34-17 score. Thank you again for hosting us through the network that we use, Greenville Sports Media, and all of our sponsors. We're truly thankful for that. Again, folks, reporting from the Sunbelt Conference and from Coastal Carolina, I'm John Bair. I'm with the Teal Roost Podcast, and the Teal Roost Podcast is found on YouTube channels. And that YouTube channel, if you want to join in and check out the channel, is www.youtube.com/@the-Teal-Roost-Podcast. Again, that's www.youtube.com/@the-Teal-Roost-Podcast. Again, if you have any trouble finding it there, you can just simply go in and search in YouTube in the channels, and it will take you to my page as well. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend again watching football. And this is really the season begins now. It's time to go, and it's time to say shots up for the weekend. Shots up, everybody.
Welcome back again to the show, guys. Thank you so much to our sponsors over at True Victory for supporting us and supporting the Sunbelt News of the Week. So we are also ready to introduce for you guys our next segment of the show is going to be our SEC games of the week and the reviews from the week that was. So we will now take it to our Sideline Sports Florida correspondent, who will be giving us the update from SEC. And thanks for Sideline Sports for joining.
What is up? I am Sidelines Gators, and I'm here to do SEC picks again for week 2. You can find me on X at SSN_Gators. And let's get into it. Game 1, we have the 3rd-ranked Texas Longhorns at the 10th-ranked Michigan Wolverines. This is going to be big noon kickoff. Both teams started off the season with a win. Texas is currently 7.5 point favorite with the over-under at 48.5 points. I'm going to be honest, I have Texas in sort of 14-ish point win here. I don't think Michigan's going to be all that this year. First year without Harbaugh, they lost a ton of talent to the NFL. And I think the big house is going to be the reason that Texas doesn't absolutely blow out Michigan here. So I am going to go ahead and pick the Longhorns to cover here. Next game, we have our first conference game of the year. The 1-0 South Carolina Gamecocks at the 1-0 Kentucky Wildcats. This is the 3:30 ABC game. South Carolina had a little trouble in their home opener against Old Dominion. They did end up coming out, and then Kentucky, of course, beat Southern Miss 31-0. So both teams are 1-0 going into this game. Kentucky is currently the 8.5 point favorite. It's at Kroger Field. Over-under is 45.5 points. So again, I'm going to be taking the favorite in the Kentucky Wildcats. I don't think South Carolina is going to be very good this year. I think in the future, their quarterback, Lenoris Sellers, could be something big for the Gamecocks in the future. But right now, it's just not going to work out. So I don't even have them making a bowl game this season, but anyway, I'll take the Kentucky Wildcats to improve to 2-0 on the season. Game 3, a little bit of intrigue here. It's a neutral site game in Charlotte for the Dukes Mayo Classic. The 14th ranked Tennessee Volunteers at the 24th ranked NC State Wolfpack, versus the 24th state NC State Wolfpack. Both teams are 1-0. NC State had a little bit of trouble in their opener against Western Carolina. They did end up winning by 17, and Tennessee, of course, crushed Chattanooga by 66 points, winning 69-3. Tennessee is the 4-point favorite right now, and the over-under is 60.5 points. So everyone is projecting this to be a pretty close game, but I don't see it. I'm going to have Tennessee winning and covering, and I think they're going to win by like 14-ish points, which, I think Tennessee is the real deal this year, and I think Nico is going to become not only a Vol legend, but a college football legend. With our last game of the week, this, I think, is the most interesting one. It's going to be the best all-around game. The 1-0 Arkansas Razorbacks at the 16th ranked 1-0 Oklahoma State Cowboys. This game is at noon in Bedlam. Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is currently an 8.5 point favorite. 8 point favorite. I don't think that this is. I don't really see it happening. Oklahoma State opened up their season with a win over South Dakota State with a 44-20 win, and Arkansas beat Arkansas Pine Bluff 70-0. Again, the spread is -8 for Oklahoma State, and I think it's going to be a much closer game than the spread says. I think these are two very talented programs, and I actually have Arkansas as a dark horse Atlanta contender this year. They're playing for their coach Pittman, who, of course, almost got fired, but had their win over Florida, which basically ended up saving his job. I'm gonna have Oklahoma State winning here, but I have Arkansas covering. I think Arkansas is going to be a very good team this year, but Ollie Gordon is, of course, one of the best players in the country, and he is going to help them get the W there. Thank you guys for tuning into my SEC predictions. Pretty good games this weekend. Hopefully my Gators also get it done against Samford in the Swamp. Again, you can follow me on X at SSN_Gators. That is at SSN_Gators. You can follow me there. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see y'all next week.
Welcome back again to the show, guys. Thank you so much to our Sideline Sports correspondent, Sideline Sports Gators, for bringing us all the SEC news of the week and the week that was in review. And next up, we're going to be shouting out another one of our amazing sponsors here in the Triangle. It's going to be Amelio's Italian Restaurant. For all of your Italian food needs, you know where to hit up. It's Amelio's Italian on Western Boulevard, right here, located in Raleigh, right here next to NC State's campus. This amazing restaurant here in downtown Raleigh. This is the 61st year of Amelio's Italian restaurant here on Western Boulevard. And I'm going to tell you this, Jay, the calzones are fantastic. I'm actually going to just have to try one right now for you. So we're going to go ahead and get that done.
Well, while you do that, Justin, I'm going to tell you, this place is well known all over the South because I was talking to the Furman SID, and every time he goes up there, he stops at Amelio. I mean, he said, as soon as I told him, he was like, "Are you kidding me? Y'all are going to be there?" I was like, "Yes, sir, we are." He's like, "I love going there."
Best Italian food in Raleigh, hands down. Anytime anybody's like, "Hey, we got to go grab Italian food, we got to go hit up Amelio's on Western." As you guys can see behind me, I mean, it's nothing but NC State. You know, they're NC State through and through. The cool thing about it was the restaurant was actually started by a former NC State player. And
wow.
His name actually is Amelio. So Amelio's Italian is actually really fully authentic food. Amelio DeAngelis is the one who started this restaurant. He started it 61 years ago, and it's just been amazing ever since then. So, you know, their food is fantastic. They have anything from calzones to pizza, fantastic wines. I mean, you name it. They got pasta, they got chicken, anything that you can just wrap your amazing mouth into. It's just amazing food. So we're super excited that they allowed us to come here, allowed us to, you know, do the show live as we get college football kicked off. I mean, we're literally 2 miles from the stadium at this point, so they are your choice for Italian food if you're coming to Raleigh. Again, thank you so much for Amelio's for giving us some love. We wanted to shout out them this week. Next up on the show, though, we've got Daniel from Run the Damn Ball podcast, and he's going to be breaking down our Big Ten games of the week as well as the week that was in review for the Big Ten. A little shaky, but ultimately Daniel's going to give us his thoughts, and we'll see how that goes.
All right, y'all, this is Daniel Magnuson with Run the Damn Ball. Today we're going to be talking about Big Ten football. I'm going to give you a rundown for how I think some of the bigger games in the conference are going to go. We got mostly non-conference this week. We have our first Big Ten game, though. We'll talk about that as well. We got some big games we got to get to. Shoot, I'll even give you who I think is going to win the conference, even though that's probably not too crazy of something to predict right now with just how top heavy the league is. But first of all, we'll start with the Friday night game. We got Duke versus Northwestern. It's a conference ACC Big Ten conference crossover here. These teams do play a bunch. I've noticed Northwestern likes to play Duke and Stanford in their non-con a lot. This is a toss-up for me because I really do think Duke has a good quarterback in Malik Murphy. I don't think Northwestern has a very good quarterback in terms of throwing. And so I believe it's Mike Wright is their quarterback. He's like a fifth-year something senior from Mississippi State. He can run, but not a great thrower, but they do have good running backs. And then Duke's not really a running team, but they got a good, passing attack with Murphy. And then both of them kind of have above average defenses. I know Northwestern had a pretty decent defense last year. I don't really know what's going to happen here. I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb and say Duke wins somehow, some way, because they can throw the ball when it matters in the second half. That is a complete guess. Northwestern could very well win comfortably at home on their little, lakefront makeshift stadium they have there on campus, which is really cool. But we're going to get up to the next game, 11 a.m., big noon kickoff on Fox, Texas versus Michigan. Okay. People have been talking about this game since February. Okay. Now, Michigan looked pretty unimpressive last week in a 30-10 win over Fresno State. They were only up 6 in the fourth quarter. It took a touchdown drive and then a pick 6 for them to win comfortably. They don't really seem to have the quarterback situation entirely settled yet. I know Warren was their number one guy last week, and Donovan Edwards didn't rush for a whole lot. Khalil Mullings was the big time rusher for them. I think he had 90 yards, and then their passing game was pretty lackluster. I think Colston Loveland's the best option to have, and he's a tight end. So with that being said, Texas has a stacked offense. Even though they have C.J. Baxter out for the year with an ACL injury, they still have young running backs who are good. They're stacked at wideout with young guys and transfers. Matthew Golden, they got Nye Black, the tight end transfer from Alabama. Silas Bolden's from Oregon State. Matthew Golden is from Houston. I'm even forgetting people right now that they have Jonte Cook, who's a speedster, a sophomore for them, I believe, and then Quinn Ewers is still there. And it's just like, dude, Gunnar Helm's a decent tight end. Their lines, they lost some people to the NFL, but like they're just really stacked. And I just don't think Michigan has enough offense to win this game. So with that being said, I think Texas wins by 7 because it's at Michigan, because they got their defense. They'll keep it close for a little bit, but I think they're going to be struggling to find points. I got, 20-13. I say Texas wins. Texas could score more than 20, but I just think, Ewers could, slip up here or there in that game. But if they play up to their potential, I think they win by 14 or so. Penn State, I just want to say they play Bowling Green. They're probably going to blow them out. I just want to say Penn State impressed me last week. I thought West Virginia was going to beat them. I genuinely did think that, there was a chance that West Virginia would win that, and especially with it being in Morgantown. But Penn State really controlled that entire game, and they were the better team, clearly. So I think, actually, I'll get to some more games. I do think Penn State actually is the number 2 team in the Big Ten right now, and I'll say that confidently. So I'll just go ahead and put that out there. Other games to get to: Iowa State, always fun. This is also a toss-up for me. I do think Iowa's defense is the biggest weight in this game. Iowa State has the skill guys that can go and potentially break this game open because of how lackluster Iowa's offense is going to be. Iowa on offense just needs to hand the ball to Caleb Johnson, whatever running back they have otherwise, occasionally do play action, and just don't turn it over. That's Iowa's best case scenario on offense this year. Their defense is pretty damn good. Iowa State has Jalen Noel, Higgins at wide receiver. Trying to think who else. Of course, Abu Sama, broke out late last season at running back, and I really think this is a toss-up. I like to pick I like to pick upsets because it's more fun that way. So I'm picking Iowa State to win by like 10 because their offense. I think Iowa will have, all the opportunities to win this game and find a way not to because their offense is that bad. Next up, we got our first Big Ten conference game, Michigan State at Maryland. I think Michigan State's going to have a rebound game where they play better than they did last week, where they barely beat, who was it? FAU. But I do think at the same time, Maryland's at home. They have some good skill position players. I do think Maryland does just enough to get the win in week 2 here. I don't think Michigan State's going to be quite as gelled together as they need to be. If this was later in the season, maybe they'd win, but I think Maryland holds on to get the win. There's some other Big Ten games going on. I'm not going to mention. Like Ohio State's playing Western Michigan. I'm up. You know who I'm going to pick in that game. Okay, we're doing picks right now, of course. What we think is going to happen. Kansas at Illinois. Give me Kansas. Don't even question it. They got too good of an offense. I like what they have on defense. Illinois impressed me with what they did in week 1. They looked a little bit more formidable than I thought they would be this year. Caden Fegan looks like a good running back. I think that this is going to be a better team for Illinois this year than last year. Surprisingly, they look a little bit more like Altmaier just looks sharper. He looked bad last year. He looks sharp this year. I do think Illinois will be bidding to get 6 wins this year, but I don't think they're going to have enough against Kansas and that really good offense. 2 more games we'll talk about. I guess we have a third I'll mention just because Utah State at USC, which starts at 10 o'clock Central Time. Big Ten After Dark is here. That's on Big Ten Network. We're talking about people who have Big Ten Network in New York City, and that game starts at 11 for them. That is wild. Big Ten After Dark. Here we come. Anyway, USC should win that game. Boise State at Oregon, 9 o'clock, late game. I'm a Nebraska fan, so I'm holding off to the last game later. We'll mention that. Boise State at Oregon. I'm just gonna say it. Oregon looked unimpressive against Idaho. 24-14 against Idaho, and you're Oregon. Have all this hype. You're going to go to the Big Ten title or something this year. I don't know. Give me Boise State because of Ashton Jonty. That offense, I think they're going to be playing with their hair on fire, and I don't think Oregon's gelled yet into what they could be. And because of that, I'm picking Boise State in a barn burner. I think Oregon has more talent. They should win. But I think because of Ashton Jonty, who's probably the number one running back in college football right now, 6 touchdowns last week, y'all. He had like 280 for 6 touchdowns, something like that. I know it's against Georgia Southern. Who cares? That's amazing. So, yeah, I think Boise State finds a way to upset them. Just considering what happened last week, I don't think Oregon is gelled yet. I think they want maybe later this season. They will, but give me Boise State just because. Like I do think Oregon's probably going to win, but I'm picking Boise State because that's boring to pick the favorite. It's just boring. Colorado at Nebraska. I could talk about this for a long time, being that I am a Nebraska fan, that I have been following them heavily since 2009. I'm 25 years old, but I've been loving college football for a long, long time. And with that being said, I did a whole preview for the Nebraska team over the summer, and then I did a whole preview for the Colorado team over the summer. I was going to do conference previews as well, but I just decided that I just wanted to sit back and watch college football, and I was kind of done making content. So this game means a lot to me. I think Colorado's the most fascinating team in college football, and Nebraska is my team. That's I will die for them. Okay, it's unconditional, and so. I could get into the off the field of what this means and all of that. And I think that just goes without saying. If you're a Nebraska fan, you get it. If you're a Colorado fan, you get it. If you love college football, of course you get it. This is regional. This matters. And it's two cultures clashing. That's what it is. On the field, there's two totally different cultures, and off the field, the fans just Nebraska's nice to everyone, but they kind of hate Colorado. A lot of people do. And Colorado hates Nebraska more than anyone. And so I could get into it more. I'm just going to tell you how I think it's going to go. I think it's going to be a shootout. Nebraska's defense will hold firm for quite a bit of the game, but there's going to be times where Colorado breaks open some big plays and scores some points. I think give me 35-28 Nebraska. I think Nebraska could score more potentially, but they're just going to run the ball out to need the ball, win the game at the end. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm really excited about it. These two teams should play every single year, and it's a damn shame that they don't. And so everything I just said about that was true. Besides the outcome of the game, which I have no idea. You could tell me Colorado wins by 30 because Nebraska collapses. It's possible. You could tell me Nebraska kicks the door down and wins by 40, and I'd be like, yeah. You could tell me it's a one possession, one score, last second, whatever play that ends it. I really have no idea because Nebraska blitzed 0 times last week. They're not showing their hand on offense. They're not showing their hand on defense a whole lot. They got a lot saved for this game. Colorado, I wouldn't be surprised if, who knows what the heck's going on there, honestly. But I would be surprised if they were saving some stuff in the tank as well for this game, even though they, had a barn burner against North Dakota State last week. Yeah. So with that being said, I think Nebraska at home is just the favorite. There's no way around it. I'm excited to see how it goes. And yeah, that's the Big Ten preview for week 2. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think Ohio State wins the conference this year. I don't think anyone comes close. Maybe Penn State breaks through and comes close, but I think besides that, they are the favorite. Who teams are in week 1 and week 2 is usually who they are the whole season. What Oregon does to Boise State this week, what they're able to do is going to say a lot, but I do think Oregon might be on fraud alert. We'll see this weekend, though. So that's everything, though. This has been Daniel Magnuson. Run the damn ball. Maybe I'll start podcasting more again. I kind of took a break because of just other things in life I'm doing. But anyway, thanks for listening.
All right, that was some great information from Daniel and about the Big Ten games of this week. And John, now we go into the Big 12 Joe Tillery, brought to you by redbubble.com. Go to our website, and you too can get all the gear from college teams from all over. You can also go to our TGF GameDay, get hats, get shirts, get all the kinds of gear, Furman Joust, You name it, we got it. And that's if you go to GreenvilleSportsMedia.com, FurmanJoust.com, TheWholePackOfWolves.com, and TheFangirls.com. We got you covered on every website. That's hit the red bubble, and you go straight to the site, straight to our collections, and get the best gear. Now let's go to Joe Tillery in the Big 12.
Big 12 conference action is here as we've got a lot of different storylines to talk about. Once again, my name is Joe Tillery. Thank you guys for joining on this channel. You can check me out. I cover Kansas State over at my own YouTube channel at Joe Tillery. It's the same name. It's the same name as my name. But that being said, week 1 was a success. I mean, it's semi-successful when you consider the record. A 14-2 overall record among Big 12 teams, though the 2 losses were the Penn State-West Virginia game and then Houston losing to UNLV. So a lot to discuss coming into this week's matchups. You've got some big games. Week 1, you had 2 or 3 good matchups. This week, there's a lot of them. The first matchup to talk about, and there's a couple that I could start with, we get our first unofficial official Big 12 game. This game is a non-conference game, despite the fact it's being played by 2 Big 12 teams. You've got number 11 Utah taking on Baylor. Now this game, Utah's favored by 15 points-ish at the time of this recording. It could go up, to be honest with you, but it isn't going in the win column as a Big 12 conference record game. It's just staying out there as a non-con game. So the winner doesn't get any leg up on the rest of the Big 12, just bragging rights in this one, but it is our first official Big 12 game to watch between 2 Big 12 opponents, so that's pretty cool. Obviously, everybody's talking about Colorado, Nebraska. That'll be a big one. Colorado obviously beating Nebraska last season. I don't feel great about the Buffalo's chances in this one, but obviously, you know, with Deion Sanders, you never know what you're going to get from a football product. Moving down the list, you've got number 16 Oklahoma State versus Arkansas. This is a big game. Both Sam Pittman and Mike Gundy cut from a similar type of cloth. Oklahoma State favored by about 7.5 right now. They're the better team on paper. Sam Pittman's hoping to keep his job, but they did look impressive in week 1, so anything can happen in that one. With that game, there's going to be a heavy dose of Ollie Gordon. I would assume Arkansas knows that. I assume everybody in the stadium knows that. My theory is that you're going to have to beat Arkansas through the air to win this game. Ollie Gordon's Ollie Gordon. He'll be incredible regardless, but you want to see Alan Bowman hit the ground running in this game. Then you got number 17 Kansas State versus Tulane. Now this game has been up and down on the spreads. It's currently listed about 9 points. I've seen it as high as 11.5. I've seen it as low as 8.5. Kansas State, not a great outing week 1. Obviously the score looks great, 41-6 against UT Martin. And the thing that everybody's talking about, Avery Johnson didn't look incredible in week 1. That being said, they really didn't need much of him to win this game. Both running backs averaging damn near 10 yards a carry in DJ Giddens and Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards, 2 touchdowns on the day. DJ Giddens, 120-plus rushing yards on 13 carries. So something big happening in Manhattan. You got Iowa State versus Iowa in the Cyhawk game. It's going to be one of my picks later. We'll talk about that here shortly. Arizona State, are they a good football team? Do we know? Absolutely not, but this week should be a good idea to find out. ASU taking on Mississippi State. That game is currently in favor of ASU, minus 5.5. Last game, you got number 19, KU versus Illinois. This is the other one that people are talking about. I don't know which way this one goes, but KU did look good in week 1. That being said, they were playing Lindenwood, so something to add a little asterisk to that one. Moving on to this week's picks, I've got 3 picks to talk about. A couple games I didn't mention are on here, but we'll get through them together. The first game I'm picking, I am taking the Cincinnati Bearcats minus 1.5 versus Pitt. I still think Pitt is awful. Ask West Virginia fans what they think. Eat exactly Pitt. They're not going to be great. I think Cincinnati showed a lot of stuff week 1. Brendan Sorsby being a beast, 383 yards passing, 2 or 3 scores through the day, through the air. I think Cincinnati has something quietly building, and their schedule is incredibly favorable once we hit the Big 12 slate, so something to watch for there. I'll take Cincinnati minus 1.5 against Pitt. Iowa State versus Iowa. Hear me out. Call me crazy. It is what it is. Don't let the Big 10 guy hate me. This is going to be one of those things. Iowa State versus Iowa, as sacrilegious as it is to say, I'm taking the over. It's the one game a year that Iowa can score points. I know they struggled week 1 against Illinois State, whoever they played. They had 3 points of first half action to show for, and more punts than points in the first half. At least that's what it felt like. The over is set at 35.5. I will take the over in this game. I think Rocco Becht and the boys are going to drive down the field. They lost a big piece on defense in Caleb Bacon. Not out for the season, I don't think, but out for a chunk of time. That's a big piece in the middle of their defense. I will take the over in the Cyhawk game. My third and final pick of the week, give me Texas Tech plus 2.5 against Washington State. Now, they almost died week 1 against ACU. ACU was about to put a heartbeat in Joey McGuire there. That was a big one to see go into overtime. Tech able to pull it off late. I think that one scares them back to the good side of football. I will take Texas Tech plus 2.5. So to recap, Cincinnati minus 1.5 versus Pitt. Iowa State, Iowa, I will take the over at 35.5. And Texas Tech plus 2.5 against Washington State. But that is your Big 12 talk for the week. We will be back next week with even more stuff to discuss.
All right, we just got some great information about the Big 12, John. And now we're going to a special Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming Underdog pick. That's right, the Underdog pick for this week. Who could it be? Let's go straight to Shaggy B.
about my underdog of the week. This week's underdog is none other than Jimmy Baylor against Utah. That's right. Baylor is the underdog of the week versus Utah. Go Bears!
Thank you so much for our underdog pick of the week from Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming. For all of your dog grooming needs, hit up Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming. And now it's that time for us to talk about the ACC, the week that was, the week that will be. Jay, I'm just going to have to tell you I'm a little embarrassed this week. You know, the ACC had a little rough patch last week, but
Yeah, they did.
needless to say, we still went 15-5 overall between week 0 and week 1. So 2 of those games were obviously conference losses too, but those 2 losses were not pretty, Jay. It was a bad day in Seminole world for them. 2 losses in 2 weeks in a row. Boston College, though, did look good. Thomas Castellanos, again, looked great.
Yes, he did.
Another good game from them. And Florida State just looks like they're in, a little bit of a find me mode is what I call it. They're trying to find themselves on offense. And I think ultimately they'll get it together. But, this team is really in a bad spot now because they got 2 losses, 2 of them in conference, too. So we were talking about it a little bit earlier this week. I think they're kind of on the cliff for the college football playoff. A lot of things are going to have to go right for them to get back in it. So, the week that was, the good, the bad, the good was North Carolina went on the road to the Big 10 and got a big win up in Minnesota. And, it took a little while, but NC State did get going in the fourth quarter. Western Carolina, it took them, a little bit of time to get going and to get some of the things shaking the rust off. But Western Carolina looked good. But NC State's going to find out who they are this week, and we'll talk a little bit about that later with the NC State-Tennessee. But several good teams showed out, obviously Virginia Tech had a rough loss, but there were some positives too. Georgia Tech looks really good. I think they're real. I think, Haynes King is one of my dark horses preseason for the, Conference Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and I think he's going to continue to get better. So that was kind of the week that was, the week that's going to be. Lots of good games on tap again this week, Jay. We got your guys down in South Carolina are going to be taking on Appalachian State there in Clemson. And then, obviously, we got the big game this week. It's going to be NC State, Tennessee, and Charlotte. And I've got my third game of the week is going to be Marshall and Virginia Tech. I really am going to be interested to see what goes on in that game. So I've got, for my picks for this week, I'm going to hold off a little bit later in the show for the NC State, Tennessee, but I'm gonna take Virginia Tech again to bounce back. I do think Jones is really, really good at what he does. He threw for over 300 yards last week, even though they lost. That was a tough game for them on the road, but I got them winning this week. And I'm also going to take your boys from Clemson to rebound as well after that loss to the Dogs last week. And I don't even know if I could, really call it a loss. It was just ugly for a little bit, but they're going to rebound. They're going to look good this week. So
I agree.
Give me the Tigers this week.
All right.
Welcome back to the show, and obviously we've got our special guest joining us again for the show this week. Nathan from our SI Guy is our Notre Dame insider, and so we're gonna let Nathan talk about what happened with A&M last week, and then he's gonna give us his thoughts on the Northern Illinois game this week. So welcome to the show again, Nathan.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me, Justin, as always. When I came on here last week, I think I predicted that Notre Dame was going to win something like 24-16. I think was my final score projection. Said it would be pretty close throughout, and that Notre Dame late in like the third, fourth quarter would sort of the running game and that aspect of their offense would sort of take over and sort of overwhelm the Texas A&M defense. And honestly, I think that's pretty much what happened. It ended up being a 23-13 victory. Fourth quarter was where Notre Dame really dominated. I think they ended up with nearly 200 yards rushing on like 5.8 yards per carry. And that was kind of I think we mentioned in the preview show as well that it'd be a kind of a three-headed monster with Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, and Riley Leonard. And I think all of those guys went for at least 50 plus. Price had a 47-yard touchdown, and that was pretty much his only highlight play. I think he actually ended up having only 44 yards on the day. So his other like 6 or 7 carries went for -3. But we know explosive plays win games. Jeremiah Love went for like 75, I think, and had a 21-yard touchdown to seal the victory. And Riley Leonard had another 50 or so yards on the ground as well. So it went about what I expected. I do think Notre Dame was the better team. I think if they played that again, maybe Texas A&M would score a little bit more, just because you're playing a team the second time. But at the same time, I think Notre Dame might put up 30 on them because they had a couple opportunities that went by the wayside. So, but yeah, no, I mean, hard fought game in a really tough environment, and it's pretty much went exactly how I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, super impressed with, honestly, the defensive backs from Notre Dame really impressed me a lot. They really played really well defensively, and that's what really caught my attention. Obviously, a whole lot more about that than I would, but, they played really well defensively, and I thought they played well in the trenches too. So really tough physical game for them.
Yeah, I forget if they were the number 1 pass efficiency defense last year, but I know they were at least top 5, and they pretty much returned everybody minus Cam Hart. And granted, obviously Cam Hart, really good player. Thomas Harper as well, who ironically enough was an undrafted free agent that's now playing for the Raiders. He made the 53-man for the Raiders. So two NFL guys that left, but they added a couple transfers, and then they had a couple young corners that they were really excited for, in Jaden Mickey and Christian Gray. Christian Gray started. He's the one that broke up that pass to sort of seal the victory when on fourth and 2 in that game. But yeah, I mean, obviously Benjamin Morrison was All-American, freshman All-American last year as well. We talked about Xavier Watts winning the Nagurski Award last week, and he had another pick in today's game, and their new starting safety, Don Schuler, who Notre Dame's been happy with, or excited for the last couple of years. He's a true sophomore. He had the first pick in the game against Connor Wigman as well, and he's someone that Notre Dame fans and the Notre Dame media and the coaching staff are all really excited about in his future moving forward.
Awesome. Well, talk to us now about the future of this week. You guys got Northern Illinois this week, so talk to us about what do you think what are you looking forward to the most this week in that game?
Yeah, so obviously Notre Dame's not going to take anybody for granted, hopefully. As a fan and as a media member, we can sort of do that from time to time. And, after the Texas A&M game, Notre Dame doesn't really have another marquee game on their schedule until probably Louisville. And then they have Florida State, obviously, who's now 0-2. So who knows how that game is going to go. Looks like Florida State's going to have a down year. And then they have obviously USC to close their season. A couple other decent ACC games here and there throughout the year as well. But these next few weeks, I mean, they have Northern Illinois this weekend, Purdue right after that, and Miami of Ohio the week after that. So it should be, easier sledding the next few weeks. Northern Illinois, obviously a good MAC program. I think they went 7-6 last year with a bowl victory, returning 18 starters, 9 on each side of the ball. So from that standpoint, obviously, very experienced team. Speaking about pass efficiency defense, I think they were top 20 in all of football last year. So, they definitely have some talent on their roster. One thing that I don't know for sure, but I have heard rumblings about it, and I forget his name, but their top defensive end, I think, is going to be out for the game, which obviously is a big deal. If you're a MAC program and you're going into Notre Dame Stadium, or you're going into any other Power 5 or Power 4 stadium, you're going to be without your top guy on defense. That's always tough. So, with that said, I mean, I think Northern Illinois is going to put up a good fight. But I think in the end, it's going to be one of those games where you look at the scoreboard, and I think it's a 28 point line, and obviously in Notre Dame's favor. My score prediction on Sports Illustrated this past week was 38-10, which is right on that number. And that's kind of where I see the game going. I don't think that Northern Illinois is going to be able to put up enough points to kind of keep the game close at any point in time. I think it will pretty much be over by half. But I do think that their defense is good enough to keep Notre Dame under 40, and potentially, if you are a bettor or someone that that likes to bet on college football, I'm not. I live in Las Vegas. Ironically enough, I don't really like. I don't really like betting on sports too much. It's just not something that has ever been there for me. overall, here and there whenever I'm feeling it. But I would say stay away from it because I think it's a really good line, and obviously Vegas always wins.
Yeah.
But I think Notre Dame could look really good in this game and still not cover the spread just because the Northern Illinois defense is pretty solid.
Well, that's good, man. We appreciate you absolutely joining the show, talking to us about the Irish. It's always good to get your insights on things. It's always fun to talk football with you too, my guy. So thank you as always for joining the show.
Awesome.
Yep. So we appreciate it. We're obviously going to have you on again next week, and you'll be talking about your rewind review. So you'll be able to talk to us a little bit about what went right and what went wrong. So, but I'm going to let you get back to it. I know you got a lot of parenting things to do. So go get your parent on and enjoy your weekend. But thanks again for joining the show, my guy.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. I'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely, man. Take care. Thanks again, Nathan Erbach, our Sports Illustrated correspondent from Notre Dame. Next up for you, we got a special guest picker of the week again. As you guys know, Dan Scott is joining us this week, and he's going to break down his picks of the week. As you guys can see right there on the bottom, we got the games that he's going to be picking, and he's going to give us his thoughts on the game. So welcome to the show, Dan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to TGFF Game Day special edition. We're here at Furman for FU all night, and of course, I have the pleasure of having a great right here, Mr. Dan Scott, the voice of the Furman Paladins. Dan, how are you doing today?
Jay, I'm doing well. It's good to be here, and great may be a stretch, but we have fun. That's the most important thing.
Oh yeah. Well, we're here because Dan is our guest picker this week with college football games going across the nation. But first, I wanted to talk about Furman this weekend. Tell us a little bit about what's planned.
Well, just a ton of stuff planned. It's our third annual, what they're calling FU After Dark, the trilogy, the third straight year we've played a night game, which the players seem to enjoy playing one night game a year at home. So that's going on. We'll be doing some things to honor the memory of the late Bryce Stanfield, who passed away back in February, up to and including accepting donations of children's books at places that'll be set up around the stadium when fans come in, because Bryce was a young man who really believed in reading to kids and fostering their love of reading, and they're calling it Bryce's Book Buddies. So encouraging fans, when you come to the stadium for the game on Saturday night, bring some children's books, and there'll be places where you can donate those. Got all of that going on, a lot of fanfare, expecting a huge crowd here, and looking forward to getting in the end zone for the first time. That would be nice as well.
Unfortunately, though, last week we could talk about that another day. But Dan, let's get to our picks. The first pick this week is a game that's happening tonight: SMU and BYU. Who you got?
Well, the first thing I want to go on the record as saying, if for those of you who are watching, and if you're Seinfeld fans, you need to apply the Costanza rule, because I am not good at picking games. So you might want to, if I pick one, go in the other direction. SMU, their first foray into ACC this year. Of course, this is a non-conference game, but they're spending a ton of money doing all these things. But I'm old enough, I go back to when BYU in the 80s was throwing the football around. Nobody did when LaVell Edwards was the head coach there. I like BYU. I'm going to go with the Cougars.
All right. USC versus Kentucky.
If I picked South Carolina, my wife would not speak to me, because she is a Kentucky fan. We both grew up in that region, southern West Virginia, eastern Kentucky. So I'm going with the Wildcats.
All right. Kansas State versus Tulane.
I'll take Kansas State on the road in this one. I think they're a better football team.
Clemson, App State.
Clemson is going to win this one by probably 3 touchdowns.
Wow. All right. California, Auburn.
I think Auburn. Auburn at home. This will be I don't know if it'll be a quote-unquote easy win, but I think it'll be double digits.
And then we got Iowa State, Iowa.
Well, will Iowa score? That's always the big thing with them, but they've been so good at keeping other people from scoring. I'll go with the Hawkeyes.
All right, Wake Forest versus Virginia.
You know, Wake has been, the last couple of years, they've been pretty good under Dave Clawson. Something tells me that Tony Elliott may be starting to get things going a little bit at Virginia. In the shadow of the pergolas, I'm going to take the Cavaliers at home.
All right, Baylor versus Utah.
There's something about the Utah program. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter who is the coach out there, but that is year in and year out a consistently very, very good football program. I think at home they're going to hold serve. I'll take the Utes.
All right, Arkansas versus Oklahoma State.
Big 12 versus Arkansas in the SEC?
Yes,
Yeah, they
yeah.
are, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've worried about other conferences, I don't know. I'll take Oklahoma State at home.
All right, and the big game of the week, Texas versus Michigan.
My son-in-law is a Michigan guy. He's a Michigan fan and is giddy over the fact that they won the national championship last year. Part of me says take Texas in this because there are a lot of people out there who believe that this is going to be a year Texas is going to be back in the national championship hunt.
Yep.
I just don't know if they can get it done on the road. I'm going to take Michigan by the slimmest of margins. And again, to try to keep a little bit of peace inside my own family.
All right. And finally, thoughts on Furman. Furman. I don't know why I said Thurman. My bad. Furman this Saturday. I know you can't. You're calling the game, so you can't give.
Well, you know, we're getting back down to our level of competition. It's the disparity between FCS and FBS, especially at the Power Four, it is getting so much wider now, and we saw that at Ole Miss. We saw that with Chattanooga getting beat 69-3 by Tennessee last week as well. So you get back into your level of competition. What happened in that game that is going to benefit Furman is there were so many Paladin players who played their first appreciable number of snaps. Even some of the starters really playing a large number of snaps for the first time in their careers. So now the coaches have that on film. They can do the correction. They can do all the things you have to do. I think you're going to see the Paladins come out and play very, very well. The one thing I know they're going to be able to do against Charleston Southern is because they did it against Ole Miss. They're going to get pressure on the quarterback, and that's going to make playing secondary defense a lot easier. When you can rush the quarterback with 4, it makes playing at the back end a lot easier. My big question is going to be for an offensive line that is new, basically 5 new starters, protected our quarterbacks fairly well at Ole Miss, but now we need to find out, playing at our level of competition, can we run the football? And I think you're going to see a concentrated effort on trying to establish the run, do things out of the play action, going downfield out of play action. We'll see how all that works, but I think it comes down to getting after their quarterback and can we run the football. If we do that, I think it'll be a big night for Paladin fans.
Tell us how they can hear you each and every week, and also, lastly, tell us a little bit about your ministry, Grand Slam.
Well, the football games, we'd love to have you here at Paladin Stadium. There are tickets available at FurmanPaladins.com. Dwight Covington would love to take your money, and he'll give you a great seat out here. I promise you that. But we're on the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 in Spartanburg, online at Odyssey.com and the Odyssey app. And we also do a booth cam that shows you hear the radio broadcast, but you see the shenanigans that goes on in the booth between Tom and David and me. That's on my personal Facebook and X pages, and it's also on the Furman Football Facebook page. Of course, the TV broadcast will be available via ESPN+. So no shortage of ways for you to catch up on what we're doing. As far as Grand Slam Ministries goes, it's a 501c3 nonprofit. We started back in early 2022. Have a weekly radio show that started in January of 23 that is airing on over 40 stations now, over the air and internet, both across the country and internationally. And just trying to share the love of Jesus Christ, trying to highlight issues of mentorship, because we need strong Christian men in this country, and also doing what we can to help children. My wife and I discovered 12, 14 years ago that there are children in this community, there are children in whatever community you're watching from, that get off the school bus or come home from school on Friday and don't eat again until they go back to school on Monday. And we've got to do something about that. So that's just a little synopsis. Go to danscottshow.org and you'll find everything that we do there, including information about Grand Slam Ministries, and I appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you, Dan, for joining us here on College TGF Game Day. Thanks for joining.
Go Paladins.
Thank you so much, Dan, for your picks of the week. Those were brought to you by the Point RV at Lake Hartwell, and we appreciate you joining the show for us. And next segment we're going to get into, Jay, is going to be our picks of the week, and that's going to be brought to you by NFM Lending, your home source for your home loan needs. So contact us at nfmlending.com, and you will be able to find your local loan originator there. First game that we're going to be looking at this week is going to be the Friday night contest with SMU and BYU. SMU off to a good 2-0 start. Who you guys got? I'm going to start with you, SoCon John. Let's get your thoughts on it and get your score, and we'll go from there.
I think this is going to be the first stumbling block for the Ponies. I like BYU in this game.
Give me SMU by 10.
SMU, let's go Ponies, rock it out, ACC, SMU by 10. So that's going to be our three picks on that. And then the next one we're going to go with is we're going to be looking at the South Carolina versus Kentucky game. Jay, I know you're a really big fan of this one. I know you're super excited for the South Carolina Gamecocks. So we're going to let you start us off. Who you got in this South Carolina-Kentucky game?
I simply hate Kentucky, but I cannot cheer for South Carolina. I want to call this a tie because I don't want neither team to win, but you know what? Can't end in a tie. So give me South Carolina.
Nice. John, what you got?
Basketball on bluegrass. I'm going Kentucky.
Give me the Wildcats, my guy. Wildcats by 7 over the Gamecocks. I'm going with the mascot in this situation. You know, Wildcats will take out the chicken. So give me the Wildcats by 7. And then next up, we're going to do another Wildcat. We got the Kansas State Wildcats taking on the Tulane Green Wave. Who are you going to start with this week? I'll start with you, John.
Great mascot battle if you've ever seen the new Tulane Green Wave. But I'm going to go with Kansas State in this one. I think they're the proven product here, and they're going to get the W.
Give me Kansas State as well. I don't see Tulane winning this game.
Give me the Wildcats again. I'm going with the cat. This is kind of my cat team of the week. Give me the Wildcats again. I'm a big fan of the Kansas State group from the Pop-Tarts Bowl last year with us. So give me them by 7 again this week. Wildcats again. So the next thing we're going to hit up is another Tigers matchup. We're going to go with the Clemson Tigers taking on the App State Mountaineers. Who you got, Jay?
Give me Clemson by 10.
By 10. John, who you got?
I got my Mountaineers. They go into Clemson and pull another stunner like they did at Texas A&M.
Wow.
No, and so this one for me was Tigers versus Moonshiners. Give me the Tigers by 15 plus this week. I think they're going to rebound. I think Tigers are going to start showing their real team this week. I think they just ran into a buzzsaw last week. So give me the Tigers on that one. And then next up we're going to have is going to be the newly joined member of the ACC, the California Bears, and the Auburn Tigers. So it's just a cat team again this week. Go ahead, Jay. I'm going to let you start.
Give me California in the upset over Auburn.
Nice. What about you, John?
Yeah, I'm going to go Auburn in this one. I just think there'll be a little bit too much for the ACC's, one of their newest members. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the Cal Bears this week. I am all ACC this week. I think their running game is one of the best in the country. I think they're going to end up being able to control the ball a little bit. So give me Cal over Auburn. I think Auburn is on their way down, and Cal is going to be too tough for them on the ground game. So give me the Bears. So And then the next up we got, which is one of my favorite matchups of the year, it's the Cornfield Bowl with Iowa State and Iowa out in the middle of Iowa. So who you guys got this week? John, let's get your thoughts first.
The Cy-Hawk Trophy game, I guess. So we got Iowa and Iowa State. So let's go with Iowa, but see, like if I pick Iowa, the score is going to be like 6-3. So let's go Hawkeyes 6-3.
Jay,
Give
what you
me
got?
Iowa State. I'm gonna take Iowa State in this game. I think it'll be close, like John said. I mean, both these teams are not going to score on each other that well. I think I'm looking at 17-13 ball game.
So Iowa shocked me last week and actually broke 30 points. So give me the Hawkeyes and give me them 21-10 this week. So in the Cy-Hawk Bowl. They also have the state fair as well during this time of year. So shout out to all the people out in Iowa. I used to do a couple trips out there. But yeah, give me the Hawkeyes. So, and then we're heading back to the ACC with the Demon Deacons taking on the Virginia Cavaliers this week. Jay, who you got?
Give me Wake Forest. I love Wake Forest. I hate to roll against Tony Elliott, but I really think that Wake Forest, this is their game to. It's going to be at Wake. The crowd it's a sellout crowd already. I think Wake Forest pulls it off. Dave Clawson continues that magic and is going to make Wake Forest respectable this year.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I agree. I think it'll be a little Grove Stadium magic there in Winston-Salem. I'll go with Wake Forest in that one.
Awesome. So this is the battle for last place. Let's just be real, guys. I mean, Wake Forest, Virginia, either one, not really the best. So give me the best of the worst. I'm taking Wake as well by 10. So give me the Demon Deacons this week. Next up is going to be a really high-key matchup. The Baylor versus Utah. The Baylor Bears coming off a really tough season, but Utah expected to contend for the Big 12 this year. So, John, who you got this week for that?
I'm going to go with the Utah Utes. I think they're picked highly for a reason, and I think they get the job done against Baylor.
I actually am going to agree with the underdog. I think Baylor upsets Utah. I just think Utah seems to always have that one game that they seem to not show up. I think this is the game. Give me Baylor early in the season getting the victory.
Give me the Utes. As you heard on Yellowstone, he calls them the Utes, but it's the Utah Utes. Give me them this week by a lot. Baylor's just not ready for that yet, and I think Utah is really ready to contend. So give me the Utah Utes this week and give them to me by at least 2 touchdowns. And then the next one we're going to hit up is back to the SEC and Big 12. We're going to go with the Arkansas Razorbacks and Oklahoma State. What are your thoughts on that one, John?
I think that Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State Cowboys makes the seat a little bit hotter for Sam Pittman. I'm going Cowboys in that one.
And I agree with you, John. I think Oklahoma State beats Arkansas this week, even though Arkansas is looking a little bit better.
It's not going to be Woo Pig Sooie this week. It's going to be the Cowboys by a lot. So give me OK State. Give me I'm a man. I'm 40, Mr. Mike Gundy himself. Give me the Cowboys by a lot this week. So we'll head back to the ACC again, though, with one of our marquee matchups of the week. It's the 7:30 game here in Charlotte. So, guys, are you guys ready to get covering some Duke's Mayo at the Duke's Mayo Classic? Let's talk NC State and Tennessee. John, go ahead, go first for us.
This is going to be a really good matchup. I think NC State will have, obviously, a little bit of the crowd advantage. I think it'll be a tight game, but I'll go Tennessee by a touchdown.
Well, I got NC State going to be in the top 12 at the end of the year, but you know what? I did have them slipping up in a game, and this is the one. Give me Tennessee over NC State by 3.
So I've heard some things about Tennessee. They kind of like mustard instead of mayo. So give me the Wolfpack in the upset this week. 38-24, the Pack take down the Volunteers in Charlotte. We found out this week, too, that NC State's already sold out its allotment of tickets. Tennessee hasn't. So give me the Wolfpack in the upset this week, Jake.
All righty.
We're gonna now hit our marquee game of the week, our game of the week from TGFF. It's going to be the Wolverines against the Longhorns. So, Jay, who you got? I know you've been hanging out with some of the maybe crowd out there in Texas and Michigan this week. So what you got for us?
Well, I tell you what, if you listen to the Twitter Space crowd, this is the game of the year, and no one else is going to be able to touch it. But you know what? Give me, as bad as I don't like saying this, Texas over Michigan. I think Michigan lost a lot. Their top head coach is not there anymore. Nothing against the head coach they got now, but I think that Texas wins this game probably by 10 points.
Awesome.
I agree. I think Texas goes into the big house and gets an important win. Although I think Michigan's defense is good enough to kind of keep viewers off balance and keep this game close.
I really was not impressed with Michigan last week at all. I mean, they were great defensively, but Texas really showed me some things last week, especially with viewers. So give me the Longhorns as well. This week, the Fighting Beavos are going to end up steamrolling the Wolverines this week. So give me them by 10 plus. So all of those picks this week are our picks of the week. So we look forward to reviewing them again next week as we come back and see how we did. Jay, I know you're keeping tally of the picks. So, the winner is going to get a special prize here at the end of the year. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we look forward again to seeing how we do this next week. Now that our picks are good, guys, we are going to, our great friend of the program. We always seem to find him in so many different places, and he's always been a great friend. Uncle Bobby is going to give us his picks now, brought to you by Clemson Wine Bar.
Hello, everybody. It's your old pal, Uncle Bobby. And you know me, I just gotta have me a Pepsi Cola every single... Oh, wait a second, my phone's ringing. Who could this be? Hello? Hey, how's it going there, Coach? You're at the Chargers now. Oh, okay. What can Uncle Bobby do for you there, Jim? You want me to what? Steal some signs? Where am I going to go to do that? Taxi? Bebo? Are you kidding me, Coach? Well, Uncle Bobby do anything for you, Coach. Let me go, and I'll go get them signs for you, and I'll send them right over to you. You got a no-show clause? Well, then don't show. Okay, talk to you later, Coach. I found the location of Bebo and his family. Now to steal some signs. Let's see, he's bending over. That must be to kneel down. Yeah, that's what that is. Okay. Got my trusty pen here too, my Crayola crayon. Oh, there's his brother. Okay. He's twisting his head. It must be the pick and roll. Pick and roll, that's what that is. Yes, it is. Okay. And oh Lord. This is a hard job trying to steal signs. Yes, it is. Oh, Bebo! What is that, a hook and ladder? Okay. Well, it looks like I got everything that old Jim wanted me to get for Michigan. Give me Texas over Michigan. Uncle Bobby.
Welcome back to the show again, man. I just don't know how much crazier we can get, John. It seems like we're missing somebody, though. Where's our other co-host at?
I have no idea. Jay let in some crazed person of the Paladins Stadium.
Oh,
He's He's back. I saw him on Furman Joust last night. Hey, Justin, how's it going? Did you see me? I stole them plays from Bebo out there in the cow pasture yesterday. I got it. I sent it to Joe, and I tell you, he's going to get it to Michigan, and they're going to beat them guys. But, I did pick Texas, but, I still got them good calls there, Justin. I just had to watch out for all them cow patties that were out there.
It looks like you were also stealing some True Victory stuff there for us, Jay. So.
Oh, you know me, man. I got my True Victory hat on. Make sure you go to Cowboy Revolution and get your hat, Cowboy Revolution, and make sure you use the code GSM.
TGFF, back up for football. Game day. TGFF, back up for football. Game day. TGFF, back up for football. Game day. Tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.